No slouching, and please sit up straight, elbows off the table, and please chew with your mouth closed. When you walk into an environment, home, work, you speak first. We've been here. You acknowledge this space because you are the one entering it. In some establishments, staff are trained to greet first. Those are exceptions to the rule, like many. Welcome back to Oracles by MJ. We are speaking of etiquette. Accountability is also etiquette. How you repair what you disturb. Etiquette is regulated behavior. Accountability is how you kept the room clean after the mess you made. Now, the literal origin of etiquette were labels used by King Arthur the 14th, gardeners at Versailles, to let everyone know to stay off the grass. We don't want you to ruin it. It served as a tool of control in the 17th century for monarchs, head of state, king, emperor, queen, to remain in control through social norms. Back then, King Arthur the 14th expanded rules in his favor, which were deemed selfish. It centered solely around the likings of him. One of the highest ranks was being a urinal for King Arthur, and also the proximity of your room to the king and queen's room let others know how high in rank you were. Now, would you be his shit boy to be in the room directly next to King Arthur the 14th? But today, etiquette is defined in Merriam-Webster as conduct or procedure required by good breeding or prescribed by authority to be observed in social or official life. But in my words, etiquette is training. When one does not learn the proper etiquette, decency can be temporary or absent altogether. Temporary meaning a sometimey individual, someone who has a little bit of class and decency sometimes, but when it matters, it's kind of out the window, or just absent altogether. It just isn't there. Now, of course, this usually draws back to early childhood when we learned about conduct and morals or lack thereof. Decency extends outward. It is not selfish. Now, I did research in all of this just to talk about train etiquette. Now, we all love getting on a train, so much so we forgot how to act. In my opinion. This is in my opinion. You can let me know if you disagree in the comments, but from my experience and from what I observed, if you're standing on the door, which you know you're not even supposed to be standing there, you two are now one. When the door opens, you have to open as well. Eating. Do not eat on the train. That is disgusting and not at all sanitary. Might as well be eating in the toilet. Not from the toilet, but in it. Sit in it and eat. Then imagine them chewing with their mouths open. No etiquette. All that fecal matter. Eating all that shit there. Gas and matter. The wet umbrella. It should be closed and it should not be hanging above anyone's head. It should not even be above your head. It should be below your knees. And it should be closed. Maybe you should have came out with a plastic bag because you know it's raining and you might have to close your umbrella on the train because you know you're taking the train in advance. You should never be comfortable with not considering others. And if you consider it and still behave unfavorably, ignorance is bliss and you see it. Remember back in the day when people on the train would be looking and reading through a fully opened, expanded newspaper as if no one is sitting in elbow distance? Or looking and leaning over someone's head to see the map. Lord knows I was happy for those digital displays. Ooh, I was relieved. Also, I feel it is appropriate to remove your book bag before even entering the train. Alright, it's up to you to scan the train and see if it's crowded. If it's crowded, your book bag should already be off before you maneuver through the train. Then you're knocking everybody with your book bag. Guess what? A little 6-year-old, 5-year-old is behind you right up under your book bag if you would just think of others. Please know that etiquette is not always what you see the majority practice. Manners do still exist. Let's not let the majority allot leeway for ignorance. How blissful. It would stick better. If you knew better, it would stick better. And we would do better always, with a few exceptions. There are a few other etiquette practices on the train that I feel we need to improve. Taking up seats, strollers, running and racing to seats and not paying attention to the children or maybe the elderly people that are around you or that may get on, get your ass up. Or just on the platform and just observing which way are people walking on the escalator. Even on the escalator, if you see that the people on the right are standing still and riding that bad boy all the way to the top, and you see the people on the left are walking up, why are you going to stand your ignorant ass on the left side? Etiquette, social norms. You don't see what's going on around you and you just got to be devil's advocate. You just got to be that one. You look a fool. Move out the way. So it's different etiquettes as far as platform etiquette, train etiquette. There is a way for all of us to act in every environment that we enter. And these etiquette social norms are put in place so no one would feel uncomfortable. These are standard rules of how one should conduct themselves when on a train, when in a library, when in a park, when at school, when at work. It doesn't matter the setting. There is a way to act. And sometimes the behavior you was brought up with, you gotta leave it at home. That's why when you're acting all out of conduct and all, that's why the delinquent behavior, that's why we always thinking we navigated back to home. That's why that pookie behavior, we always thinking navigated back to home. That's why all that hoeing and home wrecking, we think about it and we navigate it back to home. The enabling and the toxicity, we think about it and we navigate it back to home. This is all home behavior, and you know what? We must learn how to grow and be on our own, because the shit that we was taught, that your mama, that your daddy, that your sissy, that whoever taught you, it clearly isn't working out. When are we accountable and say, you know what, your ass was lying to me the whole time. Dad, you just was there. You ain't really do shit. Now I see. Or sis, you just enabled all my pookieism. It really doesn't matter. We have to grow at some point and say, you know what? I'm going to be just like these motherfuckers if I don't change. Etiquette, etiquette. You go in these different environments, you learn how to act. Leave that bullshit at home. That's why I said, you know how to do both. You know how to do both. You can't take it out of you. Once it's in you, you can't take it out of you. Hood. Once that behavior, that's who you are. But you have to know how to switch it up for a different setting while remaining who you are. While staying authentically you. Unapologetically you. Unapolala. 402, shout out to you. I thank you for subscribing. I wish you knew. I told baby girl when we get to 1,000, we're going to have a little party, a little cake, some balloons, da. Thank you. I come up with my topics. I sit down. I'm like, you know what? Let me tell you, I was going through it for the past couple of weeks because my mind just got to get right before I get right. My environment as far as physically, like I always got to clean. Imagine moving from one house and taking that whole house into another house. So I'm constantly organizing, and once it's fully organized, then my brain and my mind will reflect that. But until then, I'm just like, let me clean. And I love to clean, but god damn it seems like a never-ending task. Etiquette on that damn train. And I was just watching a video on King Arthur the 14th and the Versailles and what the hygiene was like. And before I clicked the video, I just knew it was disgusting, because if you got people who you're using as urinals, ugh. And you talking etiquette. Etiquette where? I tell you, that's why the etiquette back then was only revolved and to cater to King Arthur. Because when you think about it these days and now, you're like, that wasn't etiquette. Shitting and pissing in nobody's mouth on them or anywhere in their proximity. That's not etiquette. Among the many nasty things that he did just because he wanted to be pleased. He is the king, right? The king, we have some weird, outlandish wishes. You can't do by chocolate me.